evening, everybody. My name's Tom Stoukas, coming to you live from Sarnia, Ontario, on this lovely evening of March 19th. Beautiful day today. Really hot. Rode the motorcycle today. Perfect weather. So, like I said, everybody was in a good mood today. The weather does that to people. So, tonight we're looking at when is this Canadian election going to happen? I saw a tweet earlier today that someone has it on good authority that Sunday they're going to call the election. I mean, what day is it today? Wednesday, so something's got to happen. Now, the way the polls are looking, like consistent polls now, whether they're crooked or not, there's been consistent polls that the Liberals are ahead. In fact, might get a majority, which is crazy. And I'm sure people will have a million different reasons why that's happening, if it is happening. And so the idea is, okay, they're doing well in the polls, so they'll call an election now rather than later. Like, NDP's dead in the water. It's hilarious, kind of. So this guy says Sunday, which makes sense because Carney, I think he had didn't do anything public today. And I guess he's meeting with the premiers on Friday. Big meeting, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry. And so if he meets with the premiers Friday, then Sunday it would make sense that he would go to like the Governor General and say, we need an election, which would put us into early May, maybe. Early May. And like Trump's sitting here waiting to see who's going to be prime minister. Like, we got rid of Trudeau, now we got Carney, and then are we going to get rid of Carney? Are we going to get something new? So he's sitting there waiting, kind of. It's kind of funny. So at the very least, there'll be certainty. Not certainty, but like he'll know who he's dealing with. Okay, Friday, he's meeting the premiers. So, by virtual meeting. So, after Friday, he'll probably just say, okay, I've talked to the premiers, and now we're going to go to the election. So, it'll be interesting. And unfortunately, like, I don't think either, regardless of who wins, and I think a lot of people feel this way, this election, is whether Carney wins or Pierre wins, we're screwed. We're screwed either way, because they're kind of the same party almost. Just one's 10 years older, one leader's 10 years older and has a better resume maybe to some people. But the big policies, they're kind of the same. They're trying to outdo each other. So, and these parties have gotten us into this position now of being a failed state almost, and then or on our way to being, and we're going to expect them to fix it and turn around amid this whole, I don't know, changing world. Like, all I see is incompetence, unfortunately. I wish I didn't. I want to see success. So, even, like, I'm not really excited about this election, to be honest. I'm excited to get it over with to the next election, because by the next election, maybe more people will be upset, because I can't see, like, Doug Ford and his cabinet was sworn in today. I can't see life getting better in the next 2 years in Ontario or in Canada under this leadership, Doug Ford and the Liberals, or even the Conservatives at the federal level. So I'm very, unfortunately, pessimistic, but hopeful because things can change. And so, yeah, we're talking about the election and Carney. Like, Pierre's not really firing on anything here. Like, I'm not a fan of Pierre, but I'm even shocked at how he's kind of choked a bit. And he's kind of done an Aaron O'Toole, but he's basically trying to outdo the Liberals. It's crazy. Like, you would think you would learn from the previous loss, and all, you know, like, and now he's alienated Trump because Trump don't like him, and people say, oh, it's because he didn't kiss the ring, but it's not. It's necessarily that. It's many reasons, but we'll have to find out. But maybe, you know, like Pierre basically mimicked the Liberal policy on the response to Trump, like tariffs and retaliation and all that. But maybe Trump just considers him a fake conservative, like he's dealt with in the U.S. the fake Republicans. Who knows? Who knows? So we'll look at that video of Trump commenting on Pierre. He's basically said he'd rather have the Liberals than the Conservatives, but he didn't explain it. So he leaves it to you to interpret his thoughts. I think he considers Pierre a fake conservative, and he'd rather face a liberal, because the liberals, at least, you know, he's a liberal globalist liberal. The fake conservative, he's a liberal globalist, but he calls himself a conservative. So who would you trust more? Like, I mean, who would you rather deal with? The one you know is a true believer, or the one who's the snake, you know, snake-like? Or maybe just Pierre didn't kiss the ring. I don't know. Like, Trump is very popular in Canada. Pierre didn't have courage to do the Trump, you know, like, he just didn't have the courage to even, I bet he could have met with him if he wanted to, but like, if Danielle Smith can meet with Trump, then Pierre could have met with him. But he didn't want to meet. Well, he's afraid to meet with anybody that's semi-controversial, which is kind of weird. Means he's kind of a coward, I think. Playing it safe guy, and look where that gets you. You know, people can smell authenticity, and when he starts being all this slogan, axe attacks, and wearing the t-shirt tight, and flexing, and putting the contact lenses, like, I mean, people can sense that stuff, you know. They can sense authenticity. So maybe Trump is just calling him out, saying, hey, man, this guy's a phony. This guy's a big phony. And then, yeah, it's so much open to interpretation because he never explains it. He just says stuff, and he leaves you to interpret it. It's like he's a Zen philosopher or something. Jesus. That's my interpretation, though. He thinks Pierre is like a fake rhino, Canadian rhino. So why bother with him? And then another thing is Max Bernier. He says he's going down to Florida and Texas to do podcasts. So the speculation is it's going to be Rogan in Texas and maybe Tucker, or I think it's going to be Patrick Bet-David in Florida. But why not? A lot of free publicity. Yeah, Max would be perfect for Rogan. Perfect. They had the COVID shit. They have the Canadian. Like, Rogan's fascinated with Canada. He would love to talk about Canada for 3 hours. So I think it would be a good episode. And good for Bernier's. If you want to get publicity, that's if he did get on Rogan. We'll see. He should get on Rogan. Pierre should have went on Rogan too. Pierre would never go on Rogan, and he's like he's got a Kamala like thing to him. Like Trump went anywhere, he didn't care. He went into hostile places, and Pierre's doing a Kamala imitation. And then I was remarking about Ford after getting his lashing at the White House or wherever in Washington. He went all radio silent, and now he came out of his hole today because he had to do the swearing in for his government. So we'll see how he defends Ontario from Donald Trump now. He's talking a little less combative since the meeting with Howard Lutnick in Washington last Thursday. He's being a little less combative, so we'll see. But Trump now that Trudeau's gone, he's still talking like I think he's dissatisfied with the entire leadership of this country. I can't really defend them because I've been slagging them for 5 years, so I'm in a tough little bind here. It's all right. Just gonna sit back and see how it all plays out. Yeah, but I just have this feeling this election is kind of gone. The boomers are panicking, and they're gonna flock to whoever they think's the safest. And they've scoop up those votes, the old age homes, the retirement villas. They'll scoop those votes up like a vacuum cleaner. So right now they're vacuuming is warming up the vacuums. So might have to go one or two more elections where they vacuum up these boomer votes. But the question is, can we survive? Can we survive one or two more elections? I don't know. That's the question. That's the big question. But whatever unfolds, we will see. So yeah. We're going to go through this day's tweets because I think the main thing was the Trump comments. Again, the up-to-date Trump comments. All right. Right. My day on the X. I woke up to the JFK files, and I got a little too crazy with it. I was basically saying Israel killed JFK. I meant to say they probably did. So I'm just gonna keep an eye, see what more comes out of it. But it was definitely a conspiracy. I believe that. Like, there's no way this dummy Oswald, he just happened to be at the right place at the right time as the guy was passing by. Like, come on. And they didn't have internet and cell phone cameras and stuff back then. They can get away with so much shit back. Oh my God. They could have got away with so much stuff. People literally, I don't even think, well, they had TV, but they didn't have live TV. So people could have, like, they literally had to go get the newspaper or something. Well, they had TV, but they could have done some crazy ass manipulation. All right. Here's the post I saw today. Well, Bernier said himself he's going to Texas and Florida, so he hasn't announced where. I'm sure we'll find out by this weekend. And it's kind of like the pressure's on for PPC. I'd love to see a PPC MP or two, and spice things up in the House of Commons, because right now it could use it, but it might take another election to get them. I've seen it happen in other countries where a party like this sprouts up out of nowhere, but it's hard to say. Hard to say. Canadians really like the uniparty system. The boomer Canadians, I mean. So, but like, if Bernier did Rogan, he would get so many listeners in Canada. So many listeners. Now, if he did a good job, that's good. But if he did a bad job, that's bad. But that's the chance you take when you go on a show like Rogan or one of these unscripted podcasts, unedited too, some of them. So Pierre had a chance to go on one of these a long time ago. A lot of Canadian, especially Canadian men, listen to these podcasts, or at least part of these podcasts. But he won't go because he's a coward, kind of a coward. He's doing the Kamala Harris impression. Like Rogan would have had him on, no problem. When Trump showed the podcast strategy is the way of the future. All right. It might not be every politician's cup of tea, but Trump showed it's the way of the future because Vance does it. And you can bet J.D. Vance, when he runs for president, he's going to be doing all the podcasts. So the fact that Pierre doesn't do podcasts shows he does the odd podcast, but I'm talking about he does safe ones. He's not into the fact that he doesn't do it, he's one of those old school guys that just wants to, rule by polling and, not principle, He should go on these shows. Next post. Rupa Subramanya. I hope I said that right. I saw her post. Trump on Canada repeats that. So this was the big story in Canada today when I woke up, was Trump's interview last night. The first part interview with Laura Ingraham. The second part's tonight. But he said about Poilievre, so that's what I woke up to. See, I didn't watch the Trump interview because I stopped watching his interviews, but every time I don't watch his interview, he says something interesting. So yeah, he said, repeats that Canada should be the 51st state, and adds, I'd rather deal with a liberal than a conservative. The conservative is running is stupidly no friend of mine. It's actually easier to deal with a liberal. So, like I said to that, I think Trump is saying he would rather deal with a real liberal rather than a fake conservative. So at least, like I said, at least when you're dealing with somebody, you know who they are, Pierre depends on the poll. If the poll says we want a Trump, we like Trump, he'll be pro-Trump. If the polls say in Canada, which they probably do, because there's a lot of liberals in this country, a lot of Trump haters. If the polls in Canada say, oh, we don't like Trump, or we have a negative view of Trump, then Pierre's negative view of Trump. He follows polls. But polls change. You got to have some principles too, So he doesn't like Pierre. Something maybe pissed him off. I don't know. Who is running is stupidly no friend of mine. I don't know what. He's calling him stupid. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't like the way he's talking about him. I don't know. Maybe it's something we don't know about, but he ain't a fan of Pierre. Maybe he knows something we don't. Maybe there's some dirt. Got dirt on Pierre. Sounds like it. Or maybe it just reminds him, I said, probably just reminds Trump of the rhinos he had to deal with in the Republican Party, fake conservatives. And Trump had a lot of headaches with these guys. Fake conservatives, they're very sneaky bunch. Okay, this post was good. I liked it. Poilievre waits for public opinion polls to tell him what to do. How are you going to negotiate with someone if you need to wait 2 weeks for the polls to come out every time you come to an agreement? If Canadians want a center right leader, only Maxime Bernier is viable. So yeah, again, what I was talking about is Pierre's very wishy-washy. Very, very wishy-washy. At least Carney says I'm a globalist liberal. At least he says it, you know. I can't stand him, but at least he says I'm a globalist liberal. This is what I want, all this stuff. People are buying it, but that just shows you how weak and pathetic Pierre is. That he can't counter this globalist program with a Canada nationalist program because he has no guts. Because the polls. It's pretty disgraceful, really. Like Aaron O'Toole did the same thing. He's a squishy liberal disguised as a PC conservative party. And Pierre was trying to act tough and act like he wasn't one, but he's the same squishy guy as Doughboy O'Toole. So yeah, like Carney is saying, "Hey, I want to do this, this, and this," and Pierre ain't making a dent in him. Like that's kind of weak, I think. My opinion, that's all. It'll be an interesting election. Like I don't have much hope. For me, I think we're gonna need a couple elections to clean up things. Couple, maybe with an earthquake and a political earthquake in tossed in there. So, although I'm not optimistic that things will change, I'm still interested in the election. It should be an interesting election to see if the Liberals can do the comeback or the Conservatives can actually pull it off and hold on to the jaws of victory after almost giving them up. I don't know. And then seeing Jagmeet get annihilated too would be a treat. But this election is necessary to get in the books because we get one or two more of these in the books, and then the boomers are out of the picture. Not out of the picture, but diminished in the electoral picture. The question is, will we be around to see that day? Next post here. And Pierre's like saying, oh, Trump endorsed Carney or something because he's wimpier than me. But I don't think that was an endorsement, Pierre. He basically called you stupid. So I don't think it was an endorsement of you. No. It was an endorsement of Carney. See, I can't figure it out, man. I think he just hates them both. He hates Carney and he hates Pierre. So what's that tell you? Uniparty right there. This one's a good, interesting post, and it's not really getting a lot of attention. It's from the food processor. It says Ottawa essentially sacrificed Canadian farmers and seafood harvesters to prop up an EV and battery sector that doesn't even exist yet. spending $50 billion to support a house of cards while Northvolt teeters on the brink of bankruptcy. What a mess. So yeah, all last year they were not making, the provincial government in here in Ontario, I'm sure the Quebec government and the federal government were making announcements on EV battery investments throughout the provinces. And they're acting like this is it. This is going to be the game changer. And I live in this area where there's supposed to be all this EV investment, and I'm not feeling it now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just not feeling it. And I usually have my ear to the ground pretty good when it comes to the economy here. But now because the farmers are getting tariffed from the Chinese, I guess, because in order to protect the battery industry that benefits Ontario and Quebec, we had to keep out Chinese products. So now the Chinese are retaliating against Canadian farmers. What a mess. What a mess. Maybe we shouldn't have gone into the battery business. I think there's going to be a lot of interesting discussion and changes in the Ontario economy vis-a-vis the car industry, the auto industry. I think better brace for some changes. We should have a Canadian car company, damn it. There's no reason we shouldn't have had a Canadian car company by now. Come on. Come on. Here's the video of Trump. This is my interpretation, but he didn't explain it, so you're going to have to interpret it on your own. You're going to have to interpret it on your own. I want to listen to this video here.
Couldn't care less. I think it's easier to deal, actually.
Let's read this.
Isn't that going to make them more hostile to us and possibly
No, I'd rather deal with a liberal than a
for China closer to Canada, and that would really put us in a bind.
The conservative that's running is stupidly no friend of mine. I don't know him, but he said negative things. So when he says negative things, I couldn't care less. I think it's easier to deal, actually, with a liberal.
All right. So basically that's what he's saying. He's not a fan of Pierre. Laura Ingraham was asking him, like, you're benefiting the Liberals. They were like a dead party, and now they're resurrected. And he says that doesn't matter. Pierre's a dummy anyway. That's what I get from it. Like, so he basically doesn't. Maybe it's a negotiating trick just to say, hey, I don't care who wins. They're both dummies, obviously. Or maybe he actually believes it. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows what goes through that head of his, but he obviously doesn't have much respect for Pierre, whether it's deserved or not. So that should be interesting. Now we'll see if, like I said, who wins this election. We'll keep our eye on the election. They say Sunday. I don't know. So that's what I said. I think Trump is saying he would rather deal with a real liberal rather than a fake conservative. At least with the globalist liberals, you know where they stand, while Pierre has to wait for a poll to make a decision. Yeah, so maybe Trump's not a patient guy. At least he wants an answer from. At least the liberals will give him the answer right away. Won't be the right answer, but. All right. Next post here. Oh, this is a dummy. I saw this loser, Tim Walz. Obviously, we know him as the former vice presidential candidate. We can listen to him. He's such a loser. Like he. Oh, let's watch.
floss and pull the Tesla thing off, you know, and take out, just telling you. Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app.
Hold on.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping. So, and if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, you know, and take out, just telling you.
Guys.
All right, so I just saw that. I was like, what a pathetic guy. Like, anybody who sits around looking at someone else to fail or to do bad is got some bad vibes going, man. Bad vibes. It's dodged a bullet not having this guy's vice president. Oh. All right. Next post. This is interesting. Thing about the Ukraine war. Extraordinary peace in the Hill. The truth is finally coming out about the Ukraine war. The author explains why Trump is right about Ukraine. The war was completely unnecessary. Biden and Zelensky played significant roles in provoking and escalating it, and Western media has continuously lied about it. So that's basically what I've been saying since the war started. I lost a lot of friends. People call me bad names, and friends like I knew stopped talking to me. But, you know, I guess this war shouldn't have never happened. But I thought that was a good article. I read it, but I mean, it was true to anybody who read the news. It's just you wanted to believe it or not. That's all. Should be interesting to see in the next few days what, I guess they're meeting on Sunday in Saudi Arabia or something. So it should be interesting to see how, you know, these progressive peace talks. He's got Zelensky on the phone today, I guess. So get this stupid war over with. Oh, I should delete that one. I thought I did. Okay, next post. This is just to prove what I said during the election with the Doug Ford in the province here in Ontario. How Doug Ford's basically governed hand in hand with the Liberals for the last 5 years minimum, maybe more. So it's like, are you conservative or are you Liberal? Just tell us. And just to prove my point, Chrystia Freeland, his buddy, was in to attend this swearing in at Doug. She went to Doug Ford's house, had coffee. Let's see what she says about Doug Ford.
But he got it working. I'm excited to be the minister. It's important to see a strong partnership between the federal government and Ontario. And, you know, specifically, I had a great cup of coffee with the Premier yesterday. He struggled a little bit working his coffee machine. We met in his house, but he got it working. I'm excited to be the Minister for Interprovincial Trade, and that's something Premier Ford and I discussed yesterday. Sometimes there's a thing everyone knows is a good idea and do it, and I'm excited that this is that moment for Canada and interprovincial trade. Premier Ford has a strong mandate from the people of Ontario, and I think today I'm glad to be here to show the partnership between the federal and provincial governments. Thank you very much.
You see the chick there with the mask on. Get your mask. No, so basically we're screwed because like we got Doug Ford here working with the Liberals. And it's weird. Doug Ford doesn't do anything with Pierre. Like it's like they don't like each other. It's weird. And I think he stayed out of the election last time, too. So he's basically in the bag with the Liberals. It's bizarre. Like, are they blackmailing the guy? Or is he just a Liberal? I mean, it is progressive conservatives. All right, next post. There's John Fetterman in Israel. Senator John Fetterman in Israel receives a silver pager from Netanyahu. Because they like to blow up people with pagers. That's the joke. All right. Good meme here by Maxime En masse immigration, deport the illegals. And that's he's making fun of Pierce. Anyone from anywhere can do anything. Yeah, no. And then Max is like, anyone from anywhere can stay where they are. He's right. You notice Carney doesn't say nothing about immigration. Well, maybe he said something. I don't know. I haven't heard him say anything. Everybody's focused on Trump. It's hilarious. Like, country's going to shit. Province going to shit. And we're worried about what Trump might do. Oh, my God. I don't have much faith in these guys. I saw a few posts about how Chinese alcohol. First of all, I didn't know we had Chinese alcohol in the LCBO. I don't drink, so it doesn't affect me. But I didn't know we had Chinese alcohol. But apparently we do. And they're still on the shelves. And he's like, why does U.S. made liquor ban and not Chinese liquor? But in all fairness to the Chinese, I guess, we did put 100% tariff on their cars. So I guess this is kind of their retaliation, like, to us. So I'm not saying it's right. I think it's stupid that we got in this situation. But they look stupid now because they can't say anything. Because the Chinese will just say, well, maybe you should take that tariff off. It's screwed. But yeah. They're very quiet on the Chinese thing. Very quiet. Too quiet. All right. And this is the big thing. A new poll. This is today. Obviously, Mark Carney is the leader, so the poll should be in that. A new poll from Angus Reid Institute puts the Liberal Party. A new poll from the Angus Reid Institute puts the Liberal Party, which has been struggling for years, in majority territory. That's crazy. Liberals 5 points above Conservatives. That's nuts. Like, they must be scared out of their minds, people, to give the Liberals a majority. They must be buying this Carney. Oh, my God. Let's look at this. Let's look at the numbers. So, with the federal election call likely coming in a matter of days, so probably Sunday, like what that person said, the Liberals are looking at a massive resurgence in the polls. A new poll from the Angus Reid Institute puts the party, which has been struggling for years, in majority territory. Poll shows the Liberals have surged in the polls to 42%, 5 points above the Conservatives. I don't even see how that's possible. But it is. I don't know. Okay. Just 3 months ago, Liberals were polling at near all-time low of just 16%. Holy. But like in January, Angus Reid Institute President Sachi Kurl said polls are just a snapshot in time and things could change between now and the vote. Carney mania, it looks like. Oh, my God. It does represent a stunning comeback, at least for now. And this is why. I can't believe people falling. This is worse than COVID. Oh, my God. While household issues like cost of living are extremely important, Canadians have latched onto the issue of Donald Trump's threats to the country's sovereignty. And that's driving the Liberal resurgence. So, yeah, like, can you believe that? They're falling for that hook, line, and sinker. That strategy. Oh, my gosh. And Pierre, I don't know what his strategy could have been to counter this. Maybe go in all in and say, call, I don't know. It's a mess. All right. So Donald Trump is driving the liberal resurgence. We've heard quite a bit of silence, really not very much from the Conservatives. They have stayed focused on the axe tax election. They stayed focused on domestic affairs, on cost of living. He says the Conservatives' messaging hasn't hit as well as the Liberals on the trade war issue. But Curl adds the strategy could pay off for the Conservatives if money issues become a bigger priority for Canadians throughout the campaign period. So that's why the Liberals are going to want to call one before Canadians realize how broke they are. I don't know. Poll puts the federal NDP in single digits at just 9%. Much of the search for support is driven actually by NDP voters who are stampeding away from Jagmeet Singh and the NDP. Well, that's one good thing. That'll be the end of Jagmeet Singh's career. He'll have his pension at least. She says Prime Minister Mark Carney is now under a lot of pressure to live up to what Canadians think he's capable of doing. All right. So that's what they say. Carney's 5 points ahead of Pierre. Wow. Obviously, a lot can change between now and election. So basically, we got the Friday meeting with the premiers, and then probably a election call by the weekend. Hopefully, get this over with. It's like hanging in the wind. And I said, like I said, the fact that we're going Liberal Party, majority for the Liberal Party is crazy. So I said we seem screwed with either the Liberal or Conservative Party in power. A big change is needed. So, like, I don't know what those changes are. But they are needed. Here's Pierre tonight in Sudbury. We'll see what he says.
After 10 years, it's clear that President Trump wants the Liberals in power because they will keep this country weak. After 10 years in power, the Liberals have given us the weakest economy in the G7. They've doubled our housing costs, driven $500 billion to the south, all while Mark Carney was economic advisor to Trudeau, and while Mr. Carney moved his corporate headquarters to New York. Do you know that he moved his headquarters to Trump's hometown 6 days after Trump first threatened to tariff Canada? While these people here were worried about losing their jobs, Mark Carney was busy moving jobs to Trump's hometown. That's exactly the kind of weak, compromise, conflicted leadership that Donald Trump wants, and it's why he endorsed Mark Carney yesterday. What Canadians need, though, is a leader who's tough and firm and stands by his convictions. A leader who will make Canada strong, self-reliant, and stand on its own 2 feet. A leader who will put Canada first.
So, yeah, that was his message tonight in, I believe, Sudbury. And doesn't seem to be catching on, the message, his against Carney. I think it's because he doesn't, he doesn't distinguish himself from the Liberals. People are like, why should we vote for him? If he's going to act like a Liberal, we might as well just vote for the Liberal. Like, has been like almost silent on immigration. Even his immigration limits are laughable because they're still high, and there's other avenues for, like, that doesn't include other avenues where people can come in. So, yeah, he's really dropping the ball here. Like, he didn't look like somebody who's had a 20-point lead right there. Winds of change are blowing strong at the doors in Sudbury with Canada First Conservative candidate Ian Symington. All right. The winds of change. So that's it. We'll see. So it looks like we're going to have an election call coming in the next few days. And we'll see how that unfolds and if Trump inserts himself into it. I'm sure they're going to use him in that election. We just had an election here in Ontario with Doug Ford using Trump as the election opponent instead of the other two parties. So it'll be funny if we see a repeat at the federal level as Trump as kind of the whipping boy for both parties, which I don't see how that works, but it should be fascinating to watch. So we'll see tomorrow. See what news brings tomorrow. Everybody have a nice night. Thank you.